Good afternoon, Geekdom. It's me, the artisan MC. Shout out to Roz, being an early bird in the building. A salute to you. So, I got a couple minutes. I'm gonna make this a quick hit and run. I got about 20 minutes on this to bullshit. It might save me some time of going back and forth into my comment section, reading the long ass screeds, which are informative at times, but usually I don't have time to read all of that shit. Um, as you can see, I'm getting older. I got my old man readers, so it doesn't usually jive with me on the road reading a bunch of text off of my phone. So, appeasement characters. So, I have a short that's on YouTube right now that got a lot of traction and got people talking about something because I simply said, um, "Fuck your black Superman." And I meant that shit. And I didn't think it needed much explanation as to why I said it or why I didn't. And one of the things that came out of it was one individual's belief that the characters of Valzad, Calvin Ellis, were characters that could, in effect, give shine to characters like Icon and Static. Now, for me, you guys will forgive me, I'm on lunch. For me, I don't see this with these characters. Now, let me first say this. I know who Valzad and Calvin Ellis are. I do. I know who they were created by. I know this. Comics are not something new to me. Okay. Even if you're just now seeing me, I am not new to this shit at all. Not by a stretch, not by a long shot. Now, while I make this statement that I'm not interested in seeing a black Superman, which I'm not, I do know of those characters, and those characters have their merit in different forms and fashions, right? But it does not mean that I overlook the fact why those characters were even created to begin with. Okay. Now, when I measure up an icon and what that character is and what it means to black men, and I measure it next to a creation like a Val Zod or a Calvin Ellis, it's not a measure. It doesn't measure up to me. It doesn't. Now, Val Zod and Calvin Ellis, Val Zod was created probably about in 2014 or so, 2014, 2015, just for that whole DC World's End and forget what the other part of it was. Not end of the world, but it was something like that, right? Another fucking um, universe spanning kind of situation on Earth too. And that's where you saw the creation of Val Zod. Now, while the character is interesting, it is just Superman. It is just a Superman story, right? Now, that's 2014. Calvin Ellis, as far as I remember, was created by, is it Mark Millar or Grant Morrison, one of those dudes, just for their little multiverse story. And basically, he's like the president, but he's Superman. So this comes in a time of Obama getting elected and stuff like that, right? Still 2000s. Not really anything different outside of making him a Superman, right? Now, you go to a character like Icon, who was created back in the late 80s, early 90s, where shares a similarity of how he came to Earth. But his superhero journey is not Superman's. He is in a completely different universe, the Dakotaverse, primarily, which means, number one, Valzad or Calvin Ellis or John Stewart cannot open the door for an icon or a static. It's not happening. They live in a different universe. Now, When this character icon came around in the 90s, because I know, because I was buying the shit, he was a rival to Superman when they had their worlds collide and the Dakotaverse came into the DC universe. And he and Superman fought. Now, for me, as a black man, despite all the black characters in DC, Icon is more interesting to me than that. Now, that doesn't necessarily take away from the fact that John Stewart is a good character at times. Black Lightning is a good character at times. Bronze Tiger is a good character at times. You have to remember who made these characters and why they were made. Now, the reason why I call them appeasement characters to a degree is that they were only made in the image of another character. Now, I know Eric July talks about this a lot, tokenized characters, where they don't get to be themselves necessarily. Their whole archetype is taken from another character. Well, that's what you got with John Stewart Green Lantern. Even though John Stewart was a Marine and all the rest of the stuff before he became a Green Lantern, the whole point of him being a Green Lantern is to be like Hal. Right? The whole point of a Val Zod or a Calvin Ellis is to be like Superman, not to be their own people, but they are just the black version of a Superman. All right? That's not the case with Icon. Icon is Icon because where he came from, there was no Superman. There wasn't. He was the first of who he was. Now, while the story can be the same, alien comes from Earth, lands on planet, or alien comes from another planet, lands on Earth, raised by people on Earth, and becomes a hero of that planet. That's an archetypal story, but it's not. He's not being Superman. He's not taking an S on his chest to be the embodiment of what Superman was, just in a black version. That's not it. He is his own character. The whole point of saying that those characters that were made in DC were appeasement characters is because simply in how you relate to the characters. You call him a black Superman. He's not just Superman, he's the black Superman. Who is John Stewart? Oh, he's that black Green Lantern. That lets you know inherently what they were and how they were made. So even if you had, I forgot which one it was the Flash. Oh, that's that black Flash character. Oh, that's that black Batman. Because you have to put that modifier in front of it, they inherently do not have their own identity outside of the identity that's being grafted onto them. You just added a modifier of a color for it to try to change it up, make it interesting. Like having Jonathan Kent be the son of Kal-El, but he's that old rainbow Superman. Now that doesn't interest me as much as having original characters. Now, for someone like a Michael B. Jordan, a black man who's in the comics, in the geekdom and stuff like that, getting his director chops, I think for him, it would be more impactful for him to use his status and his ability to make movies to bring original black characters to the forefront rather than being the Trojan horse for DC to push these appeasement characters, the ones that they were pandering with, out in front of the masses. Now, this is where the person in my comment section, I believe it was Mad Dog, was talking, because there was two of them was talking the same shit. They were really going to bat for Val Zod, and I couldn't understand why they were really going that hard for them. Because the same guy that gave you Val Zod is the same guy that gave you Superman's gay son. Same guy. So if you look at his track record, this is just what he does. He just flips something in one weird way to try to get some notoriety. But what is that doing for the character? You make token characters, right? So John Stewart, although he was created by, I believe it was Neil Adams, which I respect Neil Adams for creating that character, John Stewart was just another Green Lantern. He was just the black Green Lantern. The next thing that they were trying to keep the sales up on Green Lantern. Now, where John Stewart got really good was when somebody like Dwayne McDuffie wrote John Stewart in what this person in my comment section was mentioning, the Justice League Unlimited show. Dwayne McDuffie wrote that. You realize that, right? Dwayne McDuffie, a black man who had started at DC, but started Milestone Comics, was the person who created Icon. That's why John Stewart got better. That's why your generation of millennials really looks to John Stewart as being the first Green Lantern. Because that's the one that spoke to you. Because that's what DC used and put out there, and used Dwayne McDuffie to help make it a hit. Mind you, that was after they took over and bought his company. So that's why I don't put a lot of stock in movies, modern day movies, of, oh, we just need to run a John Stewart out there. We just need to run a Black Lightning out there. Why? They just had Black Lightning have his own show. And in the course of what, 3 seasons, he ended up being a cameo character in his own fucking series. It became all about his daughters and their Rainbow Brigade agenda. John Stewart, the only reason they're trying to push a John Stewart now is because Black Panther hit. That's it. Otherwise, John Stewart will still be on the back of the Green Lantern bus. Minus the cartoon where they had to do something different to make that work. So shout out to, I think it was Bruce Timm's working on that. Shout out to him. But to me, for Michael B. Jordan, a black director, wanting to put out a property with the black man in the front of it, why don't you use some of these original characters? One of which that DC actually owns. They own that character. They bought it. And they put it on the shelf, and they keep pulling pieces off of him and Static to make their characters in DC better. That's all they do. Black Lightning didn't get better until DC owned Static. And then they started giving him Static abilities. They didn't have a Calvin Ellis or a Val Zod until they owned Icon. And since they didn't want to put Icon out there, they made Zod and Calvin Ellis. They want their version. Because it's easy to look at an original a little bit and try to copy it than it is to make up your fucking own. So this is why I don't get into those characters. I don't give a shit about those characters being pushed out there first. No, they shouldn't be. A character created in 2014 should not supersede a character that was created back in the late 80s, early 90s. You haven't paid into this union long enough to think that you need to be out there in front first. Why do you think I'm not interested in an Echo show? Same reason. Why is a Riri Williams show not interesting? This is a pander, and I'm not interested in their pander. If you want to give shine to something, give some shine to something that was created by black men for black men. And that all comic book heads know. DC doesn't have a problem with putting out Milestone again, do they? and rolling those characters back out there, do they? No, because they want to make their money. But they only want to give them to you in their way. So they can push that appeasement character that they made out there in front of your face first. That's bullshit to me. I'm not interested. Not. Because in some senses, it's just a blatant pander. Absolutely blatant. And just to highlight and showcase their bullshit character. Now, would it be interesting to see a Val Zod and an Icon face to face squaring off? Yeah, it might be in a black on black crime kind of way. But is it important? No. Is it important to have Val Zod out there first? No. Would it be important to have Icon out there first? Yes. And one of the comments that I really took objection to with the commenter about was the fact that he called Icon sticky, I believe it was, in terms of his history and how he got down politically. And I'm like, no, that's not sticky at all. It's only sticky if you think these characters need to support your political narrative. Everyone knows who's read Icon that Icon was a Republican. He was. So what? That's part of what made the character interesting. Not that he was a lefty, that he was standing on the right. He thought black folks should pick themselves up and do something with themselves. And why did he think that way? Well, in his time on this planet, since he dropped down into the South during slavery, he had to do that. He wasn't reading about history from a book or the internet. He knows it because he lived it. He went through it. So his perspective on it was completely different. And so he basically fell back into that time where black folks used to be Republicans before they got sold a bill of goods and treats and trinkets. Just do this and we'll take care of you. And that was part of the interesting part about having Icon and Rocket together. Because Icon was the right and Rocket was the liberal. And how those two things clashed together but actually understood each other. That would be more interesting in the movie to me than seeing another Superman story just with a black face. That would be more interesting to me. That's what I would care about more than this same routine bullshit. So, what did Aquateki say? Salute to the number one wrench. He said, you know, full well the powers that be can't have an alien who came to Earth, took the form of a black man, and became a self-professed Republican. Yeah. And that's why I got at the commenter mentioning something like that, oh, his past is kind of sketchy. Why? Are you not allowed to have different political beliefs in this country? As far as I know, there's only two viable parties. Now, whereas I don't care either way, I'm an independent. You can be whatever the hell you want to be. I don't have to hate you for it. And I don't think the fact that that character had a different political leaning means that the character is somehow troublesome. No, I don't. I think that makes it more interesting. Because then you can get off all that bullshit that you peddle all the time. I to where he wasn't socially conscious. It was. Dealt with things like teen pregnancy, which was Rocket, a teenage mother. It dealt with stuff like that. And you got to observe it and talk about it and debate the merits and the lack of merit in doing that. And Icon said that stuff. That somebody older would tell you. That don't make no sense. That's kind of stupid. You're being irresponsible. That was the fun of it. That's what made it worth reading. Now, for Val Zod's sake, what am I gonna get with Val Zod if I let them do a movie? Just Val Zod kissing on some white chick, Power Girl, interracial relationships, dude. Interracial relationships don't raise the flag for me. I have interracial relationships. It's not amazing to me. It's not pushing the envelope anywhere. So what difference does it make? No, you got that shit twisted. So I just wanted to make this real quick, give my little hit and run on this comment because there was another long screed sent and I didn't have time to read all of that shit because I actually have work to do. But I do appreciate the comments. I'm not shitting on the comment. I'm just saying it's a bit long and you have to be respectful of people's time. Yeah, Val Zod does have some anxiety. Might have some fucking what do they call it? ED. That'd be funny. Yeah, they'd love to put that shit out there, wouldn't they? Yes, Icon was one of the best from Milestone. Also the Blood Syndicate. Oh, you already know Ronin 76. Well, you don't know, but Blood Syndicate is my team. Icon, Static, Blood Syndicate. 3 favorites. Not in that order, but pretty much in that order. Love the Blood Syndicate. I was waiting for the Blood Syndicate to come back in the current run of Milestone Comics, just because I wanted to see if they was going to go there again. Because if you go back and read those 90s books, or if you picked up a Milestone compendium in the last 3 years, you'll see Blood Syndicate had diversity all over it. Rainbows, interracial, with Muslims, all that stuff already in it. But it wasn't played up like that, was it? It was just a team. They were a gang. They wasn't out there trying to be heroes initially. That was a gang. So, yeah, we'll see if they make Rocket a baby mama. I'm sure they would, and then they'll make Rocket right. Yeah, Aquateca, exactly. Jungle Fever has been done already. Shout out to Wesley Snipes and what's her name? Damn, I'm forgetting her name. Yeah, it's been done already. Thanks, Spike. Thanks, Spike Lee. We already seen Jungle Fever. It's not a shock to us, especially not in this 2020 odds. It's not amazing. It's not even special. So let's do something actually different that we haven't seen already before. What up, Rainfire? War ready mindset. Peace to you. What up, Package Man? No one in here. He says, I don't understand it. Most of Gen X and the millennials have grandparents who were Army vets, Republicans, Southern Baptists, nothing new under the sun. Exactly, no one, but they want to tell you that all that shit was bad. And all that is to be shied away from because it doesn't fit the current political narrative that they want black folks to have. Fuck you. No, I'm not for that. And that's the question. What up, Beastly? I see Beastly Nerd in here. He was in there dealing with these two jokers too, a little bit. I will say this, Beastly. You got to speak for yourself. You can't speak for me on shit. You can speak for yourself. You told me, yeah, we was done with the conversation. I'll have the conversation because I'm not afraid to have it. But look, man, you're gonna have to concede some shit that's stupid when it's pointed out to you. If not, look, what are we talking about? I mean, for real. I will say what BC said. Valzad hasn't the same type of battles that Clark has. So what would the movie even be about? A black man being Superman. A black man trying to be Superman, and that's not interesting to me. It's not. Like I said in the beginning, I don't. Valzad is all right character, but he's just Superman in blackface. So what am I interested in? What am I interested in seeing on the screen? Just Black Superman. I don't give a fuck about that. No. Well, thank you, Malika, my cinephilic brother in the house. Annabella Shiora. Yes, yes. In Jungle Fever. She showed up in some. She showed up in Luke Cage too. She did. That was the Italian mob boss lady, which was interesting. That's why I thought that was funny. Hasn't fought the same battles, and he won't. I wouldn't be interested in that. I'd be interested in the Icon movie because Icon movie by Michael B. Jordan, starring a Jonathan Majors, could bring in Static, could bring in Hardware, could bring in the Blood Syndicate, could bring in Zombie and all the rest of those Dakota verse characters. And since DC owns them, they can roll them over into being in the DCU. You can. But not the other way around. Val-Zod happens in Earth 2. Calvin Ellis happens on some other Earth somewhere else. No. They ain't introducing shit anywhere. And they don't need to. Superman does not need to be the way that you get to see an icon, because then you make Superman derivative of Icon. I mean, you make Icon derivative of Superman. No. Icon is his own character in his own universe. You try to turn something that's not a token into a token by doing it that way. No, that's bullshit. Yeah, Aquatech, bring on the Dakota verse. Yeah, you want to sell them damn comics, don't you? Bring on the Dakota verse. DC will still get all the money for it. But give the people who wrote those comics, those black men who wrote and created those characters in comics, give them their credit. What better way to do it than to have a black director direct a movie starring a black man doing it? I don't see what the problem is. What I think is the problem, which happens with a lot of DC fanboys and, you know, the Superman Love Squad, and I like Superman too. I like his story and his origin. I do. But going too far with this shit gets you into that whole area of where you can't accept anything that's not Superman. No black man can be as strong as Superman. And the last point I'm going to make that was really interesting to me in this person's whole tirade about why Val-Zod and Hawkman and all these other characters was good is if you go back and read it on my page, under that short, it's a very interesting psychological tale that he does, is that everything that relates to a black male, a black character created by a black male, is all lowercase. They're proper names, but they're all lowercase. And the only things he does uppercase is all those characters from DC that he thinks are more important than the other ones that I mentioned. John Stewart, Hawkman, Green Lantern, all those get uppercase. But actual people like Will Smith, Aldous Hodge, oh, they lowercase like a motherfucker. No respect on their name. Icon, Static, lowercase, no respect on their names. That's an interesting psychological tale. And I pointed that out to him and he disagreed with it. And that's why I got a longer screed back with, 5-point plans on why what I said he had an issue with. Get triggered. I don't give a fuck. I'm not here to coax feelings. I'm really not. Spark discussion, I have discussion, but I'm not here to massage your feelings. That's not my job. You said it, you put it out there. And that's what you said. And that's how you said, how you meant it. So for me, to end this, if you think Val-Zod is a better character to put out there in a movie by Michael B. Jordan than Icon, then tell me why. Don't argue with me because I don't agree with you. Tell me why Val-Zod is a better character than Icon. Do that. I'll read that in my comments. Because I was reading that character when the character was introduced. Both of them. So let's go. What did no one say? IMO static should go first. Get the kids first, like the Spider-Man movie. Yes and no. I would want to see Icon before I want to see a static. Because the reason being is that Static had his own cartoon. Icon only partly showed up in like Justice League Unlimited because Dwayne McDuffie was doing it. Partly, right? Icon has never gotten his due yet. He should get his due now. If John Stewart can just be hinted at in the Arrowverse, if Black Lightning can get his CW show, if the rest of these Superman are looming possibly to be made, why the fuck can't Icon get his due? Static had a cartoon. That's why half of these millennials call him Static Shock and not Static, which is his name. They call him the title of a show, not what the name of the character is. And last one's going to be Rainfire Design because I got to get back to it. One of the morning shows had a little boy and his dad crying because he lost the spelling bee. The mom was giggling and TikToking it. The whole panel went on about how healthy it was. Huh? I don't understand what that had to do with anything, Rainfire. You're going to have to correct me on that. I don't even understand the context of that. Yeah, I don't get that. I don't think that's healthy. I don't see how TikToking your son's failure is healthy, unless you want to humble his ass and break his spirits. But, yeah. Anyway, that's it, you guys. I got to go ahead and get out of here, finish up my noodles, and get back on this clock, get to this other job, do some of my awesome actual carpentry skills and work. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. Banner across the bottom of the screen is not for me, it's for you. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.